Hello everyone, Oscar here. Considering that I'm going to be ranking a total of 90 songs in this video, I don't want to waste too much time on the intro, but I do want to specify some things about this video. This ranking doesn't include any remasters or vocal versions, because if that was the case, this video would be almost twice as long. Finally, please remember to respect everyone's opinions and do not take anything I say in this video personally. So without further ado, sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. In last place is Mimetic Polarity from Monsoon vs. Pyrrhanikos. Brandon, if you're watching this, I'm sorry, but Mimetic Polarity was 90% ear. I didn't even finish the song, but I guess I liked the first minute of it or so. In 89th place is Rebellion at Midnight from Aino vs. Takudo. The intro sounded promising, but the actual song itself is very underwhelming. This is the second and last song in the ranking that I also did not finish. In 88th place is A Billion Isn't That Much from 1 Billion Lions vs. Every Pokemon. To be honest, it's surprising how Brandon could even come up with a track for this matchup in the first place. I think the Lion King chanting is supposed to be the lion part, but it sounds really bad. In 87th place is The Ultimate Bloodbath from Everyone vs. Everyone Else. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is supposed to be a battle across all of fiction like Still Ain't Beating Goku, and it's clear this track has no idea what it's supposed to be. Some of the segments sounded good though. In 86th place is Courageous Determination from Ness vs. Frisk. I came into this song thinking it was going to be a top 10 song, but to my extreme disappointment, it's quite the opposite. This song does not fit either of these characters even a little bit, and for a moment, I checked my cue to see if I was listening to the right song. I guess I liked the choir vocals that appear throughout the song, even though they also weren't fitting. In 85th place is Red Dead Renegades from Colton vs. Arthur. Keep in mind these two come from Western-themed games, and what's the first instrument I hear? An electric guitar. But there is one small part where it actually sounds like a Western song. In 84th place is Spinach Wind from Giorno vs. Popeye. I know Popeye isn't exactly known for its music, but this song is pretty much just the same Golden Wind leitmotifs over and over again. However, I do like how the piano sounds in this song. In 83rd place is A Normal Science Trip from Bill Nye vs. Miss Frizzle. From two series that formed most of my science knowledge at a young age, I had high hopes for this song. And don't get me wrong, it sounded great, but in my opinion, it strayed pretty far from both of these series. In 82nd place is Write My Name from White vs. Light. It borrows some motifs from both series, which mix pretty well together. Besides that though, the song isn't very fitting, and in my opinion, Therewolf Media's version is much better. Finishing the bottom 10 in 81st place is Thorn Garrot from Yor vs. Evelyn. For the latest song in this ranking, I was expecting it to be higher effort, and when the song finished, I was just like, that's it? I think the slow pace of the song is supposed to tap more into the idea that you're not aware of a spy's presence until it's too late. And although I know little to nothing about these two characters, I'm not sure why this doesn't have more of a cinematic espionage theme. In 80th place is Elimination Game from Suichi vs. Watto. The piano and EDM mix surprisingly well in this song, but it's not a perfect blend. In 79th place is Dream Buffet from Boo vs. Kirby. And here is the only commission track in this ranking for a death battle episode that already happened, which I don't have a big deal with, but I just wanted to point it out. Speaking of, this song could fit over the actual death battle very well. However, it feels way more like just a Kirby song than a Kirby and Dragon Ball song. In 78th place is Simply Peachy from Kairi vs. Peach. The guitar shredding doesn't sound too bad despite it not being the most fitting for this song. Simply Peachy randomly switches between actually sounding like a Mario song and guitar shredding, which I'm not a personal fan of. Like, just choose one. You can't have your cake and eat it too. In 77th place is I Will Never Win from Giorno vs. Misogi. This is the better Giorno track, even if it's not much of an improvement. Unlike with Spinach Wind, I actually like the Golden Wind leitmotifs, but this song is honestly way too tame for a death battle-esque song. In 76th place is Parasites at Their Core from Genova vs. Lavos. The tone of this song is very fitting for both characters, but it gets a bit basic and predictable later in the song. In 75th place is Sanguine Steel from Chihiro vs. Morbius. From what I'd read in the description, this song is supposed to be a fusion of J-pop and cinematic music, which Brandon did a surprisingly good job of blending in this song. However, it's a bit noticeable that he had some issues with it. In 74th place is Due Diligence from Ironwood vs. Defiant. This does seem to fit Defiant from what I understand about him, but I don't see how it's supposed to connect to General Ironwood. In 73rd place is Catch Away the Anger from Blackmore vs. Monsoon. Comparing mimetic polarity to Catch Away the Anger is like comparing Taylor Swift to Olivia Rodrigo. Bite me, I don't care! I still like the guitar in this song because it actually makes sense to have it in this song, but I will admit that it would be better if it sounded more like Red Dead Renegades. In 72nd place is Dancing Without Reason from Amine vs. Astolfo. This song does have some pretty moments that sound amazing. Considering the title though, the song seems a bit intense to actually dance to. In 71st place is Cyberpunk from Smasher vs. Grievous. The cyberpunk and techno themes go really hard here and sound great, but the song becomes really generic after a while. The real star of the show, however, is the track art. If you want to download it for yourself, search up CP Images. In 70th place is Time Betrays from the Three Houses Battle Royale. This song honestly sounds like it could be in a movie trailer. Also, I'm not sure what the weird synth voice is, but it sounds kinda bad. In 69th place is Permafrost from Frost Nova vs. Mr. Freeze. This song kinda reminds me of one of those old horror movies, like Creature from the Black Lagoon. With that said, the electric guitar is a bit much for this song. In 68th place is Bwami to the Moon from Minions vs. Rabbids. I liked the balance of playfulness and intensity in this song, but put the dang electric guitar away. It's probably tired of being fingered all day.
Hey yo!
In 67th place is Guardian's Impact from Lumine vs. The Night. Again with using the guitar so early, please relax. I mean, at least most of the song sounds pretty good though. In 66th place is She's So Cool from Hitori vs. Komi. I don't know a lot about these characters, but I like the song. The synth sound effect though doesn't sound that good. In 65th place is Call of the Night from Richtofen vs. Jonesy. There are some calmer moments of the song that sound great, but having the electric guitar right out of the gate was kinda unnecessary in my opinion. In 64th place is World of Might Makes Right from Valentine vs. Armstrong. The guitar sounds really good in this song and fits the intensity of Metal Gear, but personally, it just feels like this song is mainly just a bunch of filler to extend the song length so Brandon can call it a God Mode commission track. I mean, I guess it's high effort because it's 6 minutes long, but why not make it the usual length and just lock the fuck in? But maybe he already does that and I'm just an idiot. Anyway, let's get back to the ranking. In 63rd place is Legend of the Elements from Aang vs. Link. I like the ocarina scattered throughout the song, which is obviously a reference to Ocarina of Time. And if I'm being honest, this song would be at least top 20 if it weren't for the electric guitar. I think A Legend Begins is my dream version of this song, even though it's not the exact same matchup. In 62nd place is An Adventurous Figure from Chris vs. Red. These two series are pretty lighthearted, at least for the former, and An Adventurous Figure fits both of them very well, but the song is very basic. In 61st place is Non-Mortal Folk from Ellen and Keats vs. Heinrich and Gretchen. It's not a bad song by any means, but again, from what I could gather, this is supposed to be a medieval matchup, and I don't really get that sort of vibe from the song. In 60th place is Inherit the Nightmare from Virgil vs. Luna. This song has the potential to be a good guitar shredding song, but surprisingly there's almost no guitar in the song, and it's actually pretty basic. Like, when's the electric guitar when we actually need it? In 59th place is Stone Gold Mythos from Midas vs. Medusa. The non-electric guitar sounds much better than the other one, and speaking of, having an electric guitar makes absolutely no sense for this song. From someone who's read a lot about Greek mythology, I don't recall Zeus ever pulling out an electric guitar, although now that I think about it, that would be pretty cool. In 58th place is We Seen It All from Frieren vs. Skips. This song manages to mix techno with medieval tones, and although it's not too bad, it's not a perfect mix, much like Elimination Game. In 57th place is Angeloi Prostasias from Aegis vs. Sophie. Hopefully I said that right. From what I understand, it seems to blend Persona-style music and medieval-esque music kinda well. And again, it's almost always that damn guitar, but it wasn't nearly as bad in this song, because that weird synth effect destroyed most of the appeal I had left for this song. In 56th place is Maidens of Memories from Namine vs. Donna. The beginning definitely conveys the ominous vibe of Resident Evil, but then it just turns into senseless guitar shredding. In 55th place is A Most Excellent Time to Party from Bill and Ted vs. Wayne and Garth. This song is kinda wacky and goofy, which fits these four very well. However, it gets a bit boring and repetitive after a while. In 54th place is Like a Devil from Kazuma vs. Kazuya. This song could fit pretty well into either of their games, but I'm not the biggest fan of those synth siren sound effects. In 53rd place is Key to Mastery from Goku vs. Sora. This is the only other God Mode commission track on this list, and it's actually not bad. I was able to catch some references to Brandon's other commission tracks like Ultrasonic, which I thought was pretty cool to include. But yet again, starting off so early with the guitar was an interesting choice. In 52nd place is Build to the End from Jonesy vs. Steve. I caught the Chug Jug with You reference, but it was only cool the first time, which is the main reason the song gets really repetitive over time. In 51st place is Acknowledge Me from Naruto vs. Roman. This song fits the vibe of both characters pretty well, but I feel like Brandon should have gone a bit lighter on the guitar. In 50th place is Pirates Monkeying Around from Revy vs. Ruby. The guitar sounds great in this song, but the title is very misleading. Then again, it could be a reference to something from either of these series I don't know about. In 49th place is Flame Song from Fu Hua vs. Carol. I like the mix of piano and guitar in this song, but there's a bit too much going on at once. In 48th place is A Cold Night in Gotham from Batman vs. Sub-Zero. This definitely sounds like a song that could go over that DC vs. Mortal Kombat game. The techno part in the song doesn't fit either of these characters and sounds pretty bad. In 47th place is Buddy Until the End from Chucky vs. Megan. I've gotta say that this was a good Halloween track, but the issue is this song seems to take more inspiration from the Child's Play remake, which is also implied in the track art. I don't think that was the right move to make, but I guess they have the added connection of both being rebellious robots. In 46th place is Wayward Soul from Ventus vs. Pyrrha. The ambient otherworldly vibes go really strong in this song, but it's not fast-paced enough. Halfway through this ranking, in 45th place is Sword of Masked Promises from Saber vs. Saber. I could be completely wrong about this, but since Kamen Rider is a Power Rangers-esque type show, the guitar is very fitting and actually sounds really great. The song does get a bit repetitive after a while though. In 44th place is The New Guardians from Titus vs. Mark Grayson. The song takes a while to get going, but the rest is actually kinda good. In 43rd place is Old Sparks of Stars from Geno vs. Mima. Considering that Super Mario RPG has a different tone than the mainline games, I can let the guitar slide. But even then, it was still heavily overused. Also, a quick side note, this is not going to be the last time you're going to hear me complain about the overuse of the electric guitar. In 42nd place is Nevermind from Arataka vs. Sean. These characters come from comedic series, so the song is pretty fitting, but the guitar is really not needed. In 41st place is Merciless from Edelgard vs. Asgore. The guitar sounds pretty good, but I swear Brandon immediately starts shredding his guitar the first chance he gets. In 40th place is Dazzling Flash from Satsuki vs. Tsubasa. This song sounds pretty fitting for both characters, although I'm not completely sure because I'm not familiar with either of these series. There's a lot of filler and not a lot of the actual exciting part of the song though. In 39th place is Roll by the River from Tav's Party vs. the Mighty Nine. I have almost no experience with either of these series, but from what I can tell, this song is pretty fitting, besides the electric guitar of course. In 38th place is Beneath Me from The Master vs. Doom. Once the song gets going, the techno vibes go really hard, but it gets pretty repetitive after a while. In 37th place is Hello Laplace from Mark Hoffman vs. Jay. Having watched some of the Saw movies and knowing next to nothing about the Zodiac trial, I would still say that this song is pretty fitting, but it is too extreme for a horror song at some moments. In 36th place is Shockingly Sadistic from Surge vs. Jury. This could be a legit Street Fighter soundtrack, but maybe not a Sonic level soundtrack. In 35th place is One True Absolution from Uzi vs. Morty. The song is pretty unique, as it doesn't just stick with the same motif over and over again. And I get what Brandon was trying to do with the sci-fi effects, but it wasn't executed properly. In 34th place is Red Dead Reaper from Ragna vs. Mori. Finally, the much better Red Dead song that isn't even a Red Dead Redemption matchup. But whatever. Considering the darker and more serious tones of these two characters, rock is pretty fitting. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but there needs to be more of it in this song. In 33rd place is The One in Control from Neo vs. Kevin. I think the song conveys a techno/cyber theme that fits these characters, but it doesn't really mix anything up. In 32nd place is The Skies Awaken from Lucina vs. Grovile. The electric guitar sounds pretty nice in this song and actually fits quite well. However, the song should have been a bit less intense. In 31st place is One Way Ticket from Infinity Train vs. Snowpiercer. It's pretty cool how the song manages to combine the sci-fi themes of Infinity Train with the grounded cinematic theme of Snowpiercer, but the song does get a bit repetitive after a while. In 30th place is Break Your Fast from IHOP vs. Waffle House. This song manages to sound like it could go over a death battle or be played on an IHOP speaker, which is honestly pretty impressive. With that said though, it's still kinda basic. In 29th place is Rivers of Consciousness from Armstrong vs. Shido. Persona and Metal Gear Revengeance are both series known for their music, and this song was a bit of a disappointment. In 28th place is the original 13 from Gote 13 vs. Organization 13. You were expecting this song to be in 13th place, weren't you? I like the mix of piano and harp in the song, and although I feel like Brandon could have done it right, the addition of the guitar was very unnecessary. In 27th place is We Are One from Zato 1 vs. Venom. The guitar sounds nice in this song, but it needs to be a bit more intense. In 26th place is Egg-Headed Insanity from Cortex vs. Eggman. I thought the song was pretty fitting for both characters, even though the xylophone and guitar didn't blend too well together. In 25th place is See Only Me from Monica vs. Miyuki. The ominous and foreboding vibes sound great and fit well for this matchup. However, the song would sound better with singing. Brandon, I'm calling on you again. Please get Seoirsi to sing this song. I promise that it could be a top 10 song. In 24th place is You're Out of Touch from Konata vs. Tomoko. I like the vocals throughout the song, and I don't know if anyone noticed this, but there's one part where I think the beat is off by a bit. In 23rd place is Lord of the Storm from The Wither Storm vs. the Moon Lord. The chiptune sounds great and fits well for this song, but the extremely disappointing part is there's not even one Wither Storm motif. Like, this theme was genuinely half my childhood. In 22nd place is Conviction's Flower from Zero vs. Claire. The guitar isn't used too much and sounds good. The chimes, however, need a bit of tuning because they sound a bit off. In 21st place is Open, Gate of the Emblem from Lucy vs. Aliar. The guitar isn't too overkill, but I would have expected this song to have a more medieval tone. In 20th place is Clone of a Nobody from Broxus vs. Starkiller. The fantastical cinematic themes fit both characters really well. Even then, I feel like the song is a bit basic. In 19th place is Unbecoming from Nicole vs. Nagash. The ominous vibes sound really great, but the intro is very repetitive. In 18th place is Serving Royalty from Toru vs. Bowsette. I don't know much about this matchup, however, I can say I like this song. And yes, I know that Bowsette is a fan character, but this song doesn't even vaguely sound like a Mario song. In 17th place is Band of Idiots from Shepherd's Crew vs. Reds and Blues. I like the intro a lot, but not some of the rest of the song because it deviates from the intro a bit too much. In 16th place is I Really Want to Stay at Your Lighthouse from Elizabeth vs. Lucina. Considering these series are both related to technology, the synth and techno vibes are fitting here, and the guitar works too, but that part with the electric organ sounds really weird. In 15th place is Deleting Resistance from the Cybermen vs. the Borg. The ominous sci-fi vibes sound really good here, but it does get repetitive after a while. In 14th place is Punk Wave from Silverwolf vs. Soundwave. The synth guitar sounds really good and is a great blend, but it's not in most of the song. In 13th place is Monstervania from Nugget vs. Kara. I like how the song sticks to the chiptune theme while also being pretty intense, and the song itself is also pretty catchy. But, what is Hatsune Miku doing in this song? In 12th place is Delirious Shark from Gar vs. H2O. I like how the techno and ancient Japanese aesthetics work together, but I don't understand how that's supposed to fit H2O Delirious. And barely missing out on the top 10 in 11th place is Wanderlust from Frieren vs. Elena. It fits the medieval-esque vibe from these series very well. However, the song feels too tame for a song that's supposed to go over a fight. Now, we have finally reached the top 10, my personal favorites of Brandon Yates' commission tracks from 2025. Let's not waste any time and get right into it. In 10th place is Clans of Steel from Elementals vs. Brotherhood of Steel. The guitar is very fitting and sounds great in this song. I assumed that the song would lean more into the horror side of Fallout in this track, and the song did not make up for that. In 9th place is Singe of the Father from Ozai vs. Endeavor. The guitar isn't overused in this song and is mainly used to support the main melody, which I think is actually pretty nice, but those random voices that you hear throughout the song are really weird and unnecessary. In 8th place is Genesis from Laharl vs. Neptune. The chiptune is a good addition and helps the song sound less boring. However, I think it was used a bit too much. In 7th place is System Error from Lena vs. Icy. The song sounds like something that would get played at a club, and I mean that in a good way. However, it does get very repetitive after a while. In 6th place is Hearts Connected in an Endless Sky from Gran vs. Rex. The song definitely fits the vibe of these two characters, but again, it could have been better if there was singing. In 5th place is Noble Blood from Dimitri vs. Slayer. I like the sophisticated gothic vibe of the song, but it needs to be a bit slower paced in my opinion. Not too much slower, just a teeny bit. In 4th place is Le Infinite Speed from Big Rig vs. Jumbo Josh. Despite how weird the matchup itself is, the song is surprisingly good. Brandon could have done a bit more, but honestly, I can't really blame him. The bronze medal in third place goes to Superhero from Gohan vs Mark Racin. The guitar sounds great in this song, but I think it would have been a better song if it sounded more like Only One True Hero. The silver medal in second place goes to I Won't Forget War Buddy from Yoru vs Sony vs Venom. Bro, this song is just so peak. From the guitar, the throat singing, the trumpet, it all just sounds so heavenly. But I admit there were some unnecessary additions. And finally, the gold medal in first place goes to All of Our Power from Dragon Zord vs Tiger Zord. The fast guitar riffs are so heavenly, so great, that it almost reversed the ear damage I had from listening to Mimetic Polarity. As for my complaint, I genuinely have nothing, except for the fact that it's an inverse matchup.
Talk to people! I am out of here! Oh, come on! What?
And that's all for today's video. If you enjoyed this very long ranking, please like this video and consider subscribing. I'll be doing another video like this for Therewolf Media, so make sure to watch that video when it releases. And finally, I may have heavily dunked on Brandon Yates in this video, but at the end of the day, he's still a very talented artist, so shout out to him. With that said, thanks for watching and have a great day. Goodbye.